Your tune will be live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Love Talk Radio.
People tell me every day, nothing's gonna come my way. Searching for clues that I hope to find. Want something that's gonna last. I wanna live and forget the past. I know this change is gonna do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me wondering where the wind will blow. If you got a clue, then let me know. Don't hold it back now. Give me a sign. Show me something really good. Like live your dream, you know you should. I know this change is going to do me good. I know this change is gonna do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me good. Everything changes and it's own way. I'm feeling better every day. I'm gonna run back and all of this lonely. I'm gonna let even though I know this change will do me good. Even though it hurts me now, I know this change will do me
Aloha. Good evening. This is Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions on Blog Talk Radio and freeconferencing.com, establishing and maintaining relationships with you God. Aloha and welcome to tonight's Golden Age Music Show. Tonight we're talking with Acharya Mangalananda out of California, out of Nevada, California, with his album Bhajo Ma. Bhajo Ma, what is it? What's his name? Bhajo Ma, I take it back. Okay, Bhajo Ma, and I pause it here. If you guys are online at all, or you want to check it out, literally you can see this show live on Ustream. And so anyhow, if you want to see right now you can only see me because I don't have all the equipment I need to air this, to bring in our guests, but you can at least hear our guests, and you can see the album that I'm putting out. Let me see if I can get to this. This is what the album cover looks like. And anyhow, the album again is called Bhajo Ma, Kirtan of Divine Mother by Mangalananda. And so anyhow, we're here on Spiritual Inspiration on Blog Talk Radio, freeconferencing.com, and also Ustream as well. Again here with Mangalananda out of California. Aloha, Mangalananda. How are you?
Hello, Andrew. I'm fine.
And thank you for being here. Mangalananda is an Acharya, is the designated spiritual teacher of Anandamayi Ashram Trust of Indore, Omkareshwar. Omkareshwar, is that how you say that? India?
Omkareshwar.
Omkareshwar.
I'm an Acharya, that's a teacher of Manandamaya ashrams in India.
Got it. He lives in Nevada, California, which is the Bay Area, where he offers regular classes and workshops and presents traditional Kirtan. Mangalananda is a Kirtan singer, well versed in the traditional Kirtan style of the rural villages of India. Though an American by birth, through a lifetime of association with Indian culture and 12 years living in a small ashram in central India, he has learned by deep immersion the traditional spiritual music of India. His Kirtan is couched in the mystical ragas or rajas of India and is full of the lively, ecstatic joy of the divine names. Mangalananda has toured extensively throughout India, Europe, and the United States, presenting Kirtan concerts, yoga classes, workshop retreats. He is an Acharya again, an appointed spiritual teacher of Anandamayi Ashram in India, in the lineage of Sri Anandamayi Ma. Mangalananda has been a featured artist at several international yoga and Kirtan festivals, including the Berlin Yoga Festival in Germany, Ansbacka Bhakti Yoga Festival in Sweden, and in the United States at the Bhakti Fest in Joshua Tree, California, which is going to be actually in September. But anyhow, the Prana Fest in Ashland, Oregon, and finally the Boston Chant Fest in Massachusetts. Acharya Mangalananda has recorded 9 Kirtan CDs. 4 are available online from iTunes and Amazon.com for more. And if you want to get more about Mangalananda and Bhajo Ma, Kirtan of Divine Mother, the album that we're going to be presenting today, you can go to www.mangalananda.org, and that's MangaLananda.org. And we're going to talk to some more Mangalananda, but in the meantime, I do want to give a big aloha to all of our underwriters who helped us make this show happen from week to week, month to month, year to year, beginning with Maha Dikini Lore at www.mahadikini.com. Maha Dikini Lore's life has been a personal journey exploring sexuality and spirituality for over 20 years. She's a certified tantric counselor and tantric healer and a certified mind talent teacher. Maha Dikini Lore is also a graduate of Margot Naran's year-long Skydance and Tantric Facilitator Program, and is a current member of the American Association of Sex Educators, Counselors, and Therapists Club, as well as a charter member of the Association of Sexual Energy Professionals. She regularly attends trainings and conferences to keep current with the latest research and information on sexual education. And then we have the 90-Day Ascension Journey at www.90dayascensionjourney.com. When you sign up for the 90-Day Ascension Journey, you will be facilitated with defining and redefining your soul through life purpose. You will be assisted with finding out what ascension means to you. On this journey, you will be provided with tools, techniques, and assistance to empower you to connect and reconnect with yourself and your emotions and feelings in your mind, body, and spirit. Through a universal soul-centered process, you will be going through a lifelong transformation that will allow you to move forward with your endeavors and never look back if you dare. And finally, we do have Acharya Shion at www.acharya.com. Acharya Shion teaches you how to co-create heaven on earth, how to become empowered to co-create heaven in your life, how to master the law of attraction to make your dreams come true, and learn tips on how to focus your energy and attention in a consistent, persistent way so you can be healthy, wealthy, and happy. Ask questions, find out the secrets of the universe, find out how easy creating heaven on earth is in your life. The Chiron is an emissary of love and light, completely dedicated to the awakening of humanity to the full mastery and co-creation of heaven on earth. Now, if you missed any of this, or if you want to go back over some of this, you can go to spiritualimageproductions.com, spiritualimageproductions.com. On the left-hand side, there's a link, I take it back, on the right-hand side, there's a place where you can sign up for SIP's Divine email list, so you can keep abreast with everything that's going on with Andrew, Aloha, myself, and I, and Spiritual Image Productions. On the left-hand side, there is a link that says the Golden Age Music Show, where you can just click on that link, and that'll take you to the page where I'm at now. where you can, again, go over all the information for Mangalananda and the tonight's album, Bhajo, Kirtan of a Divine Mother, and of course all of our underwriters and so forth. So, again, and welcome and thank you again, Mangalananda, for being here. Yeah, I know you're pretty busy, but and I appreciate that you're here last minute because we had David Estes that was going to be coming in, and then he had some other gigs that he's doing. So we brought you in instead, and to me, it doesn't hurt my feelings one way or another. I'm happy to bring you on, and welcome and thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. I'm always happy to talk about Kirtan and India and Ananda Mahima, anything else you want to discuss tonight. One thing, we have a lot of terms in foreign languages here. The album is called Bhajo Ma, B-H-A-J-O. It's pronounced Bhajo in Hindi, and that means remembrance. It means it's a command. Remember the Divine Mother, Bhajo Ma. And I think maybe first, why don't we talk about what Kirtan is, because these may all be new terms to people who are listening on the radio.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kirtan, sometimes it's mispronounced Kirtan or whatever, but really in Hindi it's pronounced Kirtan. It's K-I-R-T-A-N. And this is a very ancient art form that originated in India and which has become very popular worldwide now. Like you mentioned in my introduction, I travel worldwide and I do concerts in Europe and America and India, and it's not only very accepted now, it's very enthusiastically embraced by the Western world. And what the art form is, it's call and response chanting of different divine names that we have in India for the divinity. And you could say it's a working tool of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of devotion of the heart, opening the heart towards the divine, opening the heart towards your own true inner self. And so we have what's called mantras. Again, this has become an English word even used in business companies to say mantra or mantra, but M-A-N-T-R-A, pronounced mantra. And it's etymologically, it's mantra. Man is mind, tra is to carry across. So what a mantra is a divinely revealed sound that was heard by these ancient seers in India, we call it rishis. And they recorded these different mantras in their consciousness, and then they wrote them down. And they taught people how to pronounce them. And this has been passed on from generation to generation for literally untold thousands of years. And these mantras are very potent and beautiful sound formulas that invoke and embody divinity. It was great in Bhakti Yoga and in Hinduism and in yoga. We don't have a dogmatic definition of what for who divinity is. We don't say you have to believe it's this or that or male or female or have the long beard and sit on the throne, anything like that. It's experiential. We're given tools to try to experience the divine. And Kirtan is a wonderful, joyful tool by which we chant these holy names, these holy mantras, and we experience their vibratory power and their healing ability. They're uplifting, they're illuminating. When you chant them, they fill the mind with joy, they open up the heart. It's such a beautiful practice. And once you kind of get used to the different language, there's a kind of a common language that a lot of chants hold. So you begin to understand the language more. And when people take to this practice of chanting, they find it adds such a beautiful dimension to their lives. Someone we owe a lot of credit to is and they call Krishna Das. He's also an American like me. And he went to India about the same time I did back in the 70s. But he was constructed by his guru. He became a disciple of a very great teacher named Neem Baba. And he was instructed to bring this to the West. And he was kind of the first pioneer. People that had done it in the West kind of connected with the yoga movement. But he brought it more into concert halls. He brought it, even got it nominated for a Grammy and all these things. He has really brought Kirtan to the public attention in the West, which we owe him a great debt for. And most of us who have this practice, we mostly learned it from our teacher. I learned it from my teachers both in India and here. And I try to spread it everywhere because it's such a joyful thing. The leader of the Kirtan will sing a line, and then everyone repeats after him. And we don't just do it like, to a monotone, blah, 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 blah. We do it to beautiful melodies. And personally, I represent the more traditional approach to Kirtan. Because a lot of times in the West, it gets taken, the words get taken and put into any kind of Western music, anywhere from folk to rock to rap. And it's, which you can do because it's a social phenomenon in a sense. It's a phenomena of the culture. So you can adopt it to our culture, but I personally feel that you lose a lot of the essence of it when you take it out of the traditional musical setting.
So you're saying that when you do Kirtan, you're doing it a call and a response type of a method of music. Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, that's the way Kirtan has always done it. The leader sings a line, and then the backup singers repeat, and everyone sings with them.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the musical setting I use is the traditional scales of India called ragas. A raga is a series of notes, a scale of notes. And each piece will be in a particular raga, and we'll only use those notes. So the music I do is the traditional Kirtan you hear in Village Inn, where I've lived many years. And so it has kind of an oriental melody, it has a beautiful, haunting, rhythmic and musical lines to it. And it's very authentic. And I feel when you sing within those traditional patterns of music, that adds a whole dimension of beauty to the chant, and it adds kind of a spiritual support to the chant too. Because as we know, music very much affects the heart and the mind in many ways, like real strong, heavy, like rock music with a big, strong beat and bass guitar and everything. It affects us in a different way than, say, a beautiful aria from Italian opera or something that Mozart wrote. Very different effects. So when you use the traditional Indian ragas, it's going to affect the mind in a different way. And I find that it supports the chant in a really beautiful way. So that's why I really stick to the traditional melodies in my music.
Got it.
So you have any questions, Andrew?
No, you're doing fine. So what I want to do is I want to talk about Mangalananda. Who is Mangalananda? Where did you grow up? Like how did you get to doing all this music and these chants and so forth?
Well, that's a good question. That's a long road. Hopefully, it won't be too boring.
Well, we've got plenty of time. Believe me. Go ahead.
Okay, that's good. So I grew up. Kind of in my teenage years was in the 60s and 70s, right in the hip movement, the summer of love and all of that. I very much embraced this whole kind of hip movement. When I was 16, I ran away from home. I lived in the French Quarter of New Orleans, hitchhiked across the country to go to rock festivals and things. And I was kind of independent from my early days. And I went through a period of taking drugs and all that, like many people in our generation did. But then in the 70s, excuse me one second. I get a little bit of a cold, so I have to cough occasionally.
Yeah, I hear you. Go ahead.
In the 70s, these wonderful gurus came from India. Srila Prabhupada, Yogi Bhajan, Swami Satchidananda, Swami Chidananda, Paramahansa Yogananda come earlier. Many of these great masters of India came and kind of picked up our generation by the ears and shook us out a little bit, got us off drugs, and started us on the spiritual path. And those who within the hip movement had the altruism that was there, that we wanted to throw off the materialistic views of past generations and embrace and start something really new. Those who had that altruism, many went into different spiritual movements. They went into the Hare Krishna movement, they went into the yoga movement, some people went into we call them Jesus freaks, the fundamentalist Christian movement. It was all good. It was all inspired by a desire to experience something greater spiritually, something beyond just the workaday world and eating, drinking, living, and dying. People wanted a spiritual dimension to their lives. So during that time, it was about, I guess it was like 1971 or so, I was on the college campus, and I just wandered into a lecture by Swami Satchidananda, who was a wonderful Indian Swami or yogic monk who had come from a great master named Swami Shivananda, who has a huge influence in the world even today. Many centers or yoga centers are on this Shivananda tradition. He was a direct disciple of Swami Shivananda of Rishikesh, the Divine Life Society. And so, someone just came and said it's not transmitting. Are we having any transmission problem?
Yeah, I'm just hang on a second because I just noticed that myself, and I'm not sure what's going on, but I used to get this idiot that used to cut me off, and then they stopped doing it for a long time, and they haven't done it in a long time, but I don't know, they may have done it again today, I'm not sure. So let me,
okay, well, let's make sure we're live.
Let me, yeah, it says we're live. I may have to go back and reconnect this onto the air. Hang on a second, time out.
Okay. Okay, now it seems to be coming through again.
Okay, yeah, well, no, hang on a second. I want to make sure.
Okay. My wife is in the next room listening to she says it's coming through okay.
Okay.
So we have her approval.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay, yeah, go ahead then. It's coming through.
Okay, so I don't know where we got cut off, but I was just saying that.
What I want to know from you, Mangalananda, first of all, where were you born at? And were you a Krishna devotee all your life? Were your parents Krishna devotee all your life? What's the deal with all that?
I was born in Texas, born in San Antonio, grew up in Dallas. And my parents were very amazing people. Everyone in my family, except for me, is a professional musician. My father was a violinist, my mother a pianist. I have two sisters, one is a cellist, the other was an organist and violist. And so they were professional musicians, and they were very devout Christians, but they were also kind of esoteric Christians. They had a great desire for inner truth also, and they searched and they found they were members of the Rosicrucian order. Different mystical they had kind of a mystical side to their Christianity. And I grew up with that. And so from youth, I always felt kind of a desire for some type of spirituality. But as I mentioned, I went through a period where I was really immersed in this kind of hip movement, back in the late 60s, early 70s, and I had my hair was very long, and I took drugs, and I tracked around the country and things. But then, as I was mentioning, I don't know if we were on the air then or not, I wandered into a lecture on a college campus by Sri Swami Satchidananda, who later went on to found the Integral Yoga Institute, which is now a worldwide organization. They have a big headquarters in Virginia called Yogaville. Beautiful place. And he was a disciple of this great master named Swami Shivananda. So when I wandered into the lecture I was on, still on some kind of drug and everything. I just thought, this should be interesting. I had a kind of a desire, but I didn't have any dedication to this path or anything. So he gave a beautiful presentation on yoga, and he was a remarkable charismatic leader. He had this long hair and beard and wore this orange robe. He was very impressive looking, and he had such a palpable aura of peace about him. It was just beautiful. And his lecture on yoga so impressed me. I thought, I have to become a yogi. One thing I realized from his lecture was, yoga isn't something you just kind of add on to your life. It's a life of dedication in itself. And I was young. I was like 18 or something at the time.
What college that you were talking about? You weren't going to college at the time, or you just had started college at the time?
I wasn't going to college. I lived across from the campus.
And what campus were you talking about?
Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas.
Oh, really? SMU? No kidding. Yeah.
SMU, yeah. So it took me a while, to get my life in order. I had to take the drugs. I was living kind of a wild life, and the ego tends to keep us from trying to do the right things we should do. So I kept saying, okay, I'm going to go to a yoga class. I'm going to start studying this, because they had a center right there in Dallas.
Yeah.
So I would even decide to go to a class and drive to the class and just stop in front of the place and look at it and drive on. I couldn't somehow get myself to do it. And finally, I just forced myself to take a class, and it was wonderful, and I really enjoyed it. And from there, I kind of broke the ground, and I started coming regularly, and I stopped taking drugs. I became a vegetarian.
So you started going to Kirtan classes, or what kind of classes are you talking about? And they're at SMU or somewhere else?
The yoga classes were at a big house that the devotees of this Swami had rented and had as their institute. It was called Integral Yoga Institute. And they were all disciples of this Swami Satchidananda and practitioners of yoga. So the first thing that I entered, was the way many people do today, through what's called the yoga asanas. That's the physical movements of yoga, the exercises, the wonderful science.
Were all these people Krishna devotees as well? Is that what I hear you saying, or they were just studying, being a yogi, whatever that meant to them?
They were just like people today who study yoga. The yoga movement in those days wasn't as commercial as it is now. It's very much connected with the hidden. It was like still kind of counterculture, underground. There wasn't a yoga studio in every shopping market like there is now. But
were they Krishna devotees? Were they Krishna devotees?
You say Krishna devotees?
Yes.
No, they weren't at all.
Okay.
The Krishna consciousness movement was something very different. The Hare Krishna people. That was also one branch of this kind of endeavor that people were going into spirituality. But these were people who were following the basic, simple path of yoga that was outlined by this Swami that I'd met, Swami Satchidananda.
Right.
They're mostly people with long hair, and we had been hippies who, like me, had stopped taking drugs and were trying to devote themselves to a spiritual path now. But Swami Satchidananda's, what he offered was very beautiful. He called it integral yoga. And it was a combination of yoga asanas, which is these movements of the body, for health, and breathing exercises, and diet change. And then he did use, this is where I first learned of Kirtan. I first experienced Kirtan at the Integral Yoga Institute. They had a very simple form of Kirtan, it was beautiful. And I started chanting that even then as part of my practice. That was back in 1972. And I found the benefits of that even then. It was a wonderful thing, chanting the different names, and I learned to play the harmonium a little bit then. And so that's kind of my first exposure to Kirtan. And from there I started practicing yoga, and like I say, stopped taking drugs, became a vegetarian, and tried to regulate my life in an orderly way. I would get up early in the morning and do my practice. So that's kind of how it all started for me.
And that was in Dallas, Texas, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. And so then when I went to, I had a lot of associations with Swami Satchidananda. I went to several retreats he was giving, both in Texas and different states. And I eventually took initiation from him into a mantra, into one of these sacred sound formulas he taught me and gave me empowerment to say this particular mantra in my meditation. So from there, I started to practice meditation, which is the deeper side of yoga. The first, the kind of most external part is these movements, these exercises. And then from there you do the pranayama, it's called, which means a breath control. You work with your breath. And then from there it should lead to inner meditation. And in meditation there's many different kinds, but I was instructed from the beginning in what's called mantra meditation, where we use these sound formulas to meditate on. And Kirtan is the external form of that. Inwardly, in our meditation, we're inwardly and mentally repeating these mantras and linking them with the breath and using different kriyas or movements to use them inwardly. And then in Kirtan, we take this and make it external. We sing it out loud to different melodies.
So again, you're saying that mantra meditation is, or Kirtans are an extension of a mantra meditation. Is that what I hear you saying?
That's correct. That's correct. Kirtan is kind of the external form of mantra meditation. And again, a person who's sing Kirtan doesn't have to do mantra meditation. They can be separate. But as far as what they actually are, they're two different forms of one thing, working with mantras, yeah.
Got it. So that's how your whole life as a Kirtan singer began in the early days.
Yeah, really, and I really, I used Kirtan just as my spiritual practice back up until 2007. If I won't jump ahead, I'll kind of go chronologically.
Yeah, go ahead, that's fine.
But when I got out of school, first thing I did was I moved into an ashram. My first ashram I was in. Ashram, ASHRAM, was one of the terms. We'll be introducing a few terms now to people who aren't familiar with them. Ashram. Shram means stress and hard labor and difficulties, and means without. So ashram means a place without stress. And ashram is a spiritual center. It's a name given in India for a spiritual center where people live to dedicate themselves to practicing their spiritual disciplines.
Now, is that synonymous to a mission or sanctuary or something like that?
Yeah, you could say it's kind of a sanctuary of peace. That's the way an ashram should be, a sanctuary of peace, where people come to dedicate their lives just to the spiritual practice and to live together to forward their own spiritual practice. So the first ashram I lived in was in Austin, Texas, and it was an ashram of this Swami Satchidananda. We had a small building there, and we had about a dozen people who lived together, mostly kids, kind of my age, a little older. And I worked there. I got a job there in Austin and worked and lived in the ashram, trained as a yoga teacher. And there I practiced my spiritual disciplines and started teaching yoga also under the supervision of the people there. And that was kind of the beginning of my spiritual life. But then from there, I was studying and living in this ashram, and I met a disciple of my present guru, Sri Ananda Mahima. He was an American Swami. His name's Swami Nirmalananda, and he had an ashram up in Oklahoma City. And he came down and just was speaking at one of Swami Satchidananda's dinners, and I met him and was very impressed. I kept in touch with him, and later we invited him down for a couple of retreats at our ashram in Austin, Texas. He gave a weekend retreat one time, and later he gave a week-long retreat. And I was very much moved by his presentation of this great woman saint, which was his guru, Ananda Mahima. I'd read of her in this wonderful book written by Paramahansa Yogananda, Autobiography of a Yogi, which is considered a great spiritual classic.
It's a very popular book, it really is, yes.
Yeah, even Steve Jobs gave it away as a gift. At his funeral, they read parts of it. It's influenced millions of people. Paramahansa Yogananda was a great, great master who was sent by the great yogis of India to the West to bring yoga to the West. He came to the West in 1920 and lived here for like 32 years and did his ashrams, which are called Self-Realization Fellowship, are very much spread worldwide today. And he wrote in this book, Autobiography of a Yogi, which is really a must-read for spiritual aspects. It's a beautiful exposition of yoga in India and different living saints he met. And in I think it was 1936, when he returned to India to visit his guru, he met the lady who became my guru, Sri Ananda Mahima, and he wrote a whole chapter on her called The Bliss-Permeated Mother of Bengal. And he met her when she was very young. I met her when she was in her late 70s. He met her in 1936. I met her in 1973. But anyway, I was first exposed to, we call her just Ma, M-A, Ma, meaning, it's a very beautiful, endearing term, of course, meaning mother. The Sanskrit grammatical term would be Mata or Mataj, but out of love, we just say Ma. So Anandamai Ma. It means a bliss-permeated mother. So this Swami Nirmalananda, who I've met at one of his talks, was showing a little, this is long before video cameras, he was just showing a little 8mm film that he had taken himself. He just returned from India, so one of his many trips to see her. And I was watching this film, and I had no idea who she was. It was just kind of fascinating that here was this great woman saying, walking around here and there. And suddenly I had this very intense experience where she looked through the camera at me. I felt for a long time, and then gave me this kind of jolt of spiritual energy. And when I later saw the film again, unedited, that footage wasn't even in there. I mean, other than the
Oh, really? Wow. Interesting.
yeah, we just something that Mom would work these amazing miracles sometimes as just commonplace. It was really
but a few days ago when I was putting together your promo and your campaign and your stuff, I looked at some pictures of her, and I could feel her energy coming through, and they were just permeating my body and just my environment. And
it's true.
It was a really nice energy. She was I was just looking at her, looking at her in the eyes, and I was just embodying her presence, and she has an incredibly nice, soft, gentle aura about her, and I was thinking, I go, wow, this is pretty nice. So as I was putting together your campaign, your stuff, and then I just kind of just basked in the energies for a little while, and just kept doing my work, and then after a while, I just moved on. But it was just an incredibly gentle spirit energy. I just was really, really taken by it.
That's wonderful. Anthony, that's a very true and very valid experience. Mm-hmm. That to this day, Ananda Ma really lives in her photos. And I meet people all over the world who just saw a photo and suddenly it came to life and just had this intimate contact with her. So it's true. She is, you could just as you experience just by looking at her photo. You know what she reminds me of is slow jam. It's like she's like the embodiment of slow jam. She just creeps up on you, and all of a sudden she just takes you and envelops you, and then just really feeds you her loving kindness. And then that was just I think that's a good safe phrase to use. Just incredible loving kindness that I felt from her. Yeah, that's very beautifully put. It's very true. Just by kind of tuning into Ma, she really approached herself to you. Mm-hmm. I was doing a concert on one of my tours back in, I think maybe 2010 or something, in a little village in England, in Essex, England, on the east coast of England. And my group, we were in this little village theater, and we were staying with some devotees of Ananda Ma in England, and we had brought with us for the concert a large picture just of Ma's face. It was 6 to 7 feet, about 5 feet high. And we had it behind us, this beautiful picture of Ma's face. We had it behind us on the stage as we were singing. And afterwards, this lady came up, an English lady who had been at the concert, and she was in tears. And she said, "Please, just tell me, who is this woman that you had in this picture?" And we said, "Well, tell me your experience." And she said, I live in this little village, and I'd just gone for a walk. I had no idea of your concert. I saw the sign and the music. How nice. So I came into the concert. The minute I sat down and just looked at this picture, she came alive. She started speaking to me in my heart. She just totally moved me. So we told her about Mom. And the proof to me of the reality of it is she started attending the Matri Satsang, or group meetings of Ma's devotees there in England. And the next year, she came to India and she met one of Ma's main swamis, Swami Acharya. He was a great, I was fortunate to be very close to him. And she received initiation into Ma's lineage. And to this day, she's still there practicing in England. So to me, that kind of tells the reality of her first exposure to Ma, that she was moved enough to follow it up. So it is true, by just looking at a picture of Ma, you can have amazing experiences. Yeah, so let's see. So I was living in this ashram, and I met the Swami Mangalananda, and I felt very drawn to Ma and thought of living in his ashram. So I called Swami Satchidananda, this first Indian yogi I met, who I'd received initiation from, and who I was following. I was trying to follow his teachings. So I talked to him, and I said, Swamiji, I feel you're my guru, but I'm still drawn to Ananda Ma, and I've had this experience, and I don't know what to do. And he was so humble. Swami Satchidananda was such a good soul. He was this worldwide teacher, but he was so humble and so kind and so sweet. And
right now what I'm doing is I'm showing the people on Ustream the copy of your album, and there's a picture of yourself, and then there's a picture of Ma, who you call Ma, on there as well. I'm showing them that picture so that they can see for themselves.
That's good. It's a big picture of Ananda Ma, yes. So I talked to Swami Satchidananda, and he said he had also been to Anandamayi Ma. He had a great regard for her. And he very humbly told me, he said, I was just a step on the ladder. Take your foot off this rung and put your foot on the next rung. You should go to Ma and be with Ma. You can try this way of life in this other ashram, and this is the way you should be. So he gave me permission to leave him and go to Ma, which is, an amazingly beautiful thing for a guru to do. But he is so humble that he feels, the disciple would benefit from someone else. I still to this day have a deep, deep regard and respect and love for Swami Satchidananda. And I visit many of his centers. I play in many of his centers, play Kirtan in many of his centers. And I really feel he's just a wonderful saint, and I still feel he's kind of part of my lineage. But so I went and I moved into this ashram in Oklahoma City that was dedicated to Anandamayi Ma. Very strict ashram. There we meditated 6 hours a day. We meditated from 4 to 7 in the morning and 4 to 7 in the afternoon, and did all these disciplines. Very intense place. I lived there for about a year, and then I went with Swami Mangalananda to India in 1973 and met Ma. And I traveled and stayed with Ma in both the years 73 and 74 all over North India. And she eventually gave me mantra initiation into a mantra, just as Swami Satchidananda did. Then I was linked with Ma, and then I started practicing that mantra that she gave me.
Now, mantra initiation, is that like one of the ultimate blessings you can get from a guru or saint or whatever?
Yeah, that's a very, very traditional way of initiation. It's called Diksha in Sanskrit. Diksha means, we use the word initiation to translate that, but what it is, it's an empowerment given by a teacher, a guru, to a disciple, where the teacher, whether it's a man or woman, puts their spiritual power or God's power into the mantra and brings it to life, and kind of makes it start to work in you. And then you have to take it and work with it, but it already has the advantage of going deep inside of you and already being life with the power that they have. So Ma gave me that initiation. I wrote a book about Ma, and it's some of my experiences and my memories of Ma are also on the back of that, including my initiation, which is very profound and humbling and amazing. It has, I don't know if I go into all here, but it was a beautiful experience. And to be with Anandamayi Ma is, again, a subject in itself. We hold what's called Matri Satsang here every month, where we just meet and talk about Ma and study her words and do meditation together. But the experience of being with a great being like Anandamayi Ma is just, it's really impossible to really talk about. But her life was so sublime and so supernatural. It was just incredible. And she was from birth in this state of absolute realization of her unity with the divine and with everything. We consider she wasn't even a saint. She was what's called an avatar. That means a divine incarnation, where she was just a manifestation of divinity. That's how her devotees think. That's what we think. But however you think of her, she was in this sublime state from birth. So many masters, had an experience where they reached a point in their disciplines where suddenly this came upon them. But Ma was like that when she opened her eyes. You don't really make comparisons between masters. One is greater than the other. That's silliness. That's just ego. All the masters are manifestations of the divine, but they manifest different attributes. And Ma manifested this attribute of maternity. She was the mother of all. She was the gentle, peaceful, loving mother of all. She was just incredible. And to be in her presence, it can't even be described. When I first saw her, I'd been studying her life that previous year that I was living in the ashram in America before coming to India. I've been reading about her life, reading her words, trying to learn about her and kind of tune into her. And I was wondering what would it be like to see her. But it was a totally unique experience to see someone of this spiritual caliber, really like the equal or greater than any of the great saints who live on this earth today. And Ma traveled for 50 years, from 1932 until 1982, when she left her body. She traveled nonstop in India, just pulled by people's hearts and needs. Sometimes she had a kind of a pattern to her movement. Sometimes it looked with no pattern, because what it was, she was just responding to the call of people's hearts. And she moved throughout India, just staying there, usually not more than 3 to maybe 2 weeks in one place at a time, and then just moving on. So it was hard to find out where she was, but we found out she was in Vrindavan when I first went to meet her, in the place where Lord Krishna lives. And she has a big ashram there, so we went to meet her there. And
that's funny, because when I went to visit Sai Baba, you know who Sai Baba is, right?
yes, of course.
When I went to visit him, that's the first place I went to, is Vrindavan, where one of his ashrams is at. And I didn't realize that was an ashram of Krishna as well.
Yeah, Vrindavan is known because Lord Krishna, thousands of years ago, was born in the city of Mathura, which is just a few minutes away from Vrindavan, and then he grew up in this area we call Braja, or Vrindavan. And that's where all his divine leelas, we call, all his pastimes and things he did in this land of Vrindavan. To this day, it's still a pretty small town, and it's just full of ashrams and temples and devotees of Lord Krishna, dedicated totally to Lord Krishna. And Ma has an ashram there, which is also has a Krishna temple in it. And that's where she was when we first found her back in, it was in 1973. On my first trip to India, we landed in Delhi and went immediately down to Vrindavan because we heard Ma was there. And at that time, Vrindavan was even smaller than it is today. It was even more pristine than it is today. It was incredibly powerful, wonderful place, full of spiritual joy. So we found her in her ashram, and she was in her room. And so they announced that a few of us had come. There was about 6 of us had come together. And so we came and sat in this little ante-room, waiting for Ma to come out. And then Ma came out of her room and just sat in front of us on this little, it's called a charpai. It's a little raised platform with a cushion where a saint will sit and talk to people who have come to visit them. So she sat, and she didn't speak the whole time. She just sat very quietly and looked at each one of us. And the experience is even hard to describe. She was so simple. She just wore white clothes. She had long black hair. Even though she was old, her hair remained always black. And she, even in her old age, she was very beautiful. She was striking in her appearance. But it was a totally new experience to see someone like this, because she was, first of all, she had no ego. There was no ego there. She was just simplicity itself. And she just sat very quietly, composed in herself, and looked at us. And what was mind-boggling was to see someone who was the very essence of humility or egolessness. There was just no pious show, there was no pompous. She was sitting there very quietly, just immersed in her own real self. So this simplicity and humility was just overwhelming. At the same time, she was regal. She was like the unquestioned queen of the universe, without trying to be. And that sounds like a contradiction in terms, but that's why it was so amazing to see someone who was literally egoless, literally embodying of humility, at the same time, just like amazingly powerful, amazingly and beautifully regal is the only word I could think of. Like the Maharani of the universe, the queen of the universe. So we were just watching her. At the same time, we also, I think all of my devotees who met her for the first time had this same feeling in their own way. A feeling of deep soul-level familiarity. Like she was not an unfamiliar person. Even though I'd meeting her for the first time, I felt like I'd known her forever and she had known me forever. So
yeah, that's kind of how I felt a few days ago when I was putting together this whole thing. I felt the same way.
Yes, that is the essence of meeting with Ma. The soul knows its own mother. She's the mother of the soul, So no one is, and people would come to Ma, and she would always say, "Everyone is familiar to you. No one is new. You're not new to me. You're all very familiar to me." So we all had that experience, but she was the unquestioned mother of our souls. It was a beautiful experience. So I stayed with her as long as I could. In those days, you couldn't get these 5 and 10-year visas to India. You get now, you get like 3 to 6 months. So I had to like always try to extend my visa, and in those days you had to go to these different offices and bribe people and everything. It was a terrible thing. So I spent my time trying to extend my visas here, and finally I wasn't able to stay anymore. So in 1974, I had to come back to America. So I had after my initiation, I had several privates with Ma. We call them privates, where you could just arrange to just be alone with Ma and ask her questions about your spiritual life. She didn't speak. She only spoke a little bit of English, or at least that's what she that she told us. But she spoke Hindi and Bengali. And these days, I now speak fluent Hindi after so many years in India. But I didn't then. So in the private Ma, I had to just have an interpreter. So it was just mainly someone who would interpret my words to Ma and Ma's words to me. And Ma, so I go and sit in front of Ma and ask her questions about my spiritual life, and it was incredibly profound. For Ma to look down on me with such love and mercy. It was moving. It was so moving. And she would answer very practically any questions you had about your practice, about your mantra, about how to live your life. It was very beautiful. She was very strict with people who came to her, though. She really gave them a lot of practice to do and asked them to come up to a very high standard. She was always merciful and loving, but she had a very high standard of what she expected of people who wanted to follow her teaching. So I had to come back to America. So I came back. I lived many years in this ashram where I had told you about before, very strict ashram. In 2001, this is skipping ahead quite a bit, I moved back to India to be part of a project in one of Ma's ashrams, starting a school there. I had met Swami, one of Ma's main Swamis was named Swami Bhajo. A Swami is a title for an Indian monk who's a yogi, a meditator, and someone who has totally dedicated their life to God, and they wear the orange robes of the sannyas order. So one of Ma's main Swamis was named Swami Bhajo, and he was an incredibly wonderful saint. He was very dear to all of Ma's devotees. He had been a lawyer or something. He'd been a very high-powered person. He came to Ma back in I think the late 40s, maybe early 50s, and just dedicated himself to Ma, and just followed Ma around in her travels and did any kind of service he could for her. And then she would send him away for years at a time to practice intense spiritual discipline. She would say, go to the top of that mountain and sit there and meditate for the next 4 years. And he would do it without question. Then he would be in charge of all the service years. Then she'd send him away somewhere else. So he became a great saint because of this his dedication to his and his practice in Ma's grace. Wow. So I was connected with him, but at my initiation, he was there, and Ma told me to keep in touch with him and be under his guidance. So in 2001, I contacted him, and Ma blessed me to stay in India, but I wasn't able to stay in India for many years. So I said, Swamiji, I want to go back to India and live the rest of my life there. So he told me, he said, in this place called Omkareshwar in central India, they're starting a school in this little village because there's no school in that area, and you can go and offer your service there. Like I had a background, some background in teaching. So I wrote the head of that ashram, Sri Swami Kedarnath, and told him how Swamiji had recommended me, and Swami Bhajo wrote me a letter recommending me to come and stay. And I received a very kind letter back saying, and welcoming me to the project. So I came there. I went back in 2001. I was so happy to be back in India. Oh, I was so relieved. So the first thing I did was just take a long, many month-long trip. I just traveled in India. I followed the river Ganga from Calcutta all the way up to Gomukh, where it's sourced in Himalayas, and I visited Varanasi and Rishikesh and Haridwar, and just reveling in being back in India. This is the country of God and of yoga, divine saints. It's just, I was so happy to be back in India. And so I eventually went to Omkareshwar and worked in this project there for 12 years, starting this school for these very poor village kids who had, before the school had, when I first came to school, it was just starting. And the kids there were so many beggar kids who had just been neglected by the society and by their parents, and they were just wandering around like little urchins. And these very children, we got to come to our school, and we cleaned them up, put them in a nice uniform, began teaching them, began loving them, began making them part of the family of the ashram, and they responded so beautifully. And we found out that after they started studying, they came out with all these inner talents and intelligence. They were just wonderful children.
Yeah, I remember when I was in India, I remember that. And there was this one kid that he came up to me and he kept begging. I go, oh, I can't remember what it was. He wanted some food for his family. They were hungry and he had like a mother and a grandmother and I don't know who else, like two or three other people. So I did. I went and bought dinner for or lunch for all of them. And then I said, you need to get back to school. You need to, you need to go get yourself, take up responsibility for yourself, blah, blah, blah. I told him a bunch of stuff, and then the next time I seen him, he was working at some shop selling incense and all kinds of stuff. And it was nice to know that he was working towards taking care of himself. So it was good to see that. But go ahead.
Yeah, that's really good. These kids have such inner capacity. They just need the environment to manifest that. And it's so sad to see them neglected and just roaming around the streets begging in the bazaar. It's a horrible thing. Because if you just give them the opportunity, they have really wonderful minds and hearts, and they can become, wonderful, useful members of society.
Exactly.
So I worked in this school for 12 years and was living in my ashram there, and doing my spiritual practice and meditating many hours a day, and then teaching some classes and doing some work around the ashram. It's a very good ashram there. And there I met the person who was in charge of that particular ashram. He actually wasn't a Swami at the time. He was a young man, much younger than me. He was in his, when I met him, he was in his late 20s. He was a Sikh man, tall, about 6'5" Punjabi man with long black hair and beard. And he and I became instant spiritual friends. We became just deep soul brothers, and we just had such an affinity together. We would sing together, we would sit and tell stories together. We became really, really good friends. And so he eventually we took sannyas together. We were given sannyas is initiation into the order of Swamis, the monk order, the monastic order of India. He became Swami Guru Sharanananda, and he was in charge of the Omkareshwar ashram. And he was the one who really started the school. He's a fantastic teacher. He is so good with kids. He's a very simple-hearted person himself, very pure-hearted, wonderful man. And he just works with the kids, just love him, just adore him. And so he was really the driving force behind the school. And he started the school and kept it running and was in charge of all the teachers and everything there for those 12 years. And so the way I actually started seeing Kirtan professionally happened in 2007. When I first arrived in 2001, the first thing Swami Guru and I did was he pulled out the harmoniums. We started singing together. So we sang together every night, and in ashrams, there's usually an evening service where there is Kirtan. It's called Arati, where we offer lights and bells and things, and then after we sit with the harmonium and we sing Kirtan, which is very much a part of the ashram life in India. And so he and I were seeing Kirtan together. We take turns reading the Kirtan there, and it was our spiritual practice. So what kind of threw us into I guess you could say, the professional arena and the Kirtan arena was that in 2007, we started the school in 2001. In 2007, we basically ran out of money. It was just run by donations, and we didn't take government aid because we found schools that took government aid had their curriculum restricted by the government. They weren't allowed to teach spirituality because the excuse was there's so many religions in India, if one is left out, there might be an offense and this and that. So we had to be kind of strictly secular. And we had started the school as a spiritually based school. It is a beautiful school that was run, it was a government-recognized school, and we taught them the regular subjects, math, history, science, all these things, but we included in it, in every subject and throughout the day, the spiritual principles. We would always start, this school was called Ma Anandamayi Tripura Vidyapeeth, which means Mother Anandamayi, who is the goddess of the three worlds, her center of wisdom and learning. That's what it translates as. So it's dedicated to Anandamayi Ma and her teaching. So every day the kids line up and we read Ma's words and then we discuss them with them. We ask the kids, okay, now what did Ma say? And make them repeat it back in their own words. And then we sing some Kirtan from Ma. We sing what's called the Ma Chalisa, which is a beautiful hymn of 40 verses to Ma. And we taught them yoga, we taught them meditation. These young kids would be sitting cross-legged in meditation and singing Kirtan. It was just wonderful. So because of that, we had to run the school without government aid. So we had to run by donations, and India is so poor, and the rich people in India are rich because they don't give any of their money away. That's kind of my experience, and not meaning to defame anybody, but that was our experience. So we had a lot of trouble keeping the school open from day one. So in 2007, right before the school year, we had this meeting of the trustees of the school, and we had this horrible meeting. I remember to this day. We looked at each other and we said, we cannot open the school next year. We do not have any money. The kids had come up. We started with just a few kids, and we've been adding on a grade every year. At that point, we're up to 8th grade. We had from the nursery school up to 8th grade. We eventually got all the way up to 12th grade, the high school, and we got them into colleges and everything. But at that point, we were saying we have to just send them home with an 8th grade education. We can't run the school. We have no money. So we thought, how could we get donations? We tried donation drives with India without success, with very little success. So someone said, well, we have to go abroad and see if we can raise funds there. So I was the only Westerner in this whole project, in that whole area. I was basically the only Westerner living in that area. That's why I had to learn Hindi, because I was teaching in Hindi and very few people spoke English. So I got pretty comfortable with my Hindi. And so they all looked at me like I was the only Westerner there. They said, well, can we go to the West to raise money? All I turned towards me, uh-oh. So I said, well, I'll contact some friends I know in Europe and see what we could do. The one thought I had, I said, well, Swami Guru Sharananda and I, we sing Kirtan. Maybe we can go and just do some concerts. They said, well, give it a shot. So, of course, we're speaking in Hindi, so we're not using these terms, but so what I did is, I contacted some very good friends of mine in Europe and said, we have to raise funds immediately to keep the school open. It's desperate. And we can do some musical concerts with Kirtan. They said, yes, fine, come, we'll set up some concerts for you. So these very, very good friends of ours in Austria held concerts in Austria and Czech Republic. And then what was interesting, which made me think of how it was divinely planned that we should be doing this. In the next couple of months, everyone we needed to complete this first tour of Europe came to our own door. People came to visit the Austria from England, from Germany, and it was amazing. Everybody said, oh, you're going to Europe? Please come and see us. This one man came and said, oh, I'm part of this group that runs this Berlin Yoga Festival in Germany. We'd love to have you come at our festival. You come. People from England came and said, yes, come to England. We'll set up concerts. So within a few months, the whole tour had virtually set itself up. It was amazing. Now, I had the joy, which is, and I say that sarcastically, the difficult job of arranging these tours and putting it all together like a jigsaw puzzle, which drove me crazy. But I had worked on it every few months every year. So we arranged the whole tour, all the train tickets, all the concerts, all the rides, all the people, everything. And Swami Guru Sharananda and I went for the first time in 2007 just to Europe. And we ended up touring like 7 or 8 countries. I don't remember how many concerts. We worked for like 2.5 months, almost every night, singing in a different place. And we had a very good reception. We had no idea how people would receive us. Our first concert was in a Catholic church in southern Austria, in a beautiful area in southern Austria, where they had us sit right next to the altar, and there were nuns there, and there was a church full of people, very ecumenical church, needless to say. And we sang all this Hindu Kirtan. We're singing Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Om Namah Shivaya, Jai Shiva Shankara. And we had the nuns up on their feet clapping and singing, and people were dancing. It was amazing. We were just so amazed. And we went, and we got a very good reception on all our concerts. And Kirtan had been introduced in Europe. It wasn't quite as extant as it is in America. It wasn't quite as well received as in America, but still people knew of it. And especially we played in a lot of yoga centers. We played in a few Hindu temples. We played in a lot of churches. Very interesting. And we got a very good reception. And from there, we got the experience of touring and playing professionally, on a professional level. And we, we kind of, since cleaned up our act and made it, from just a couple of guys singing in a whole village to professional presentation. And so that's how we ran the school for several years. So every year we would go and do these tours, and then come back and build a few more classrooms. And because the school we were running was absolutely free, there was no tuition.
Wow.
We gave because the kids were so poor, the families were so poor in that area. We gave them free books, we gave them free uniforms, we gave them a meal every day. Then we eventually opened what's called a gurukula. It's a hostel for boys in the ashram, where we had between 30 and 40 boys who would come for full-time training. They lived there all the time. The rest of the kids would come and go during the day. Some of those boys were orphans, and some were like particularly talented and wanted to develop their talents. And so this select group lived in the ashram. And the rest of the kids were both boys and girls, actually more girls than boys, came just for the school, for the school day, like a normal school. And so the school grew and prospered. We kept adding on a grade every year. And then we got up to all the way through high school. We had a few graduating classes. We got the scholarships to college, to vocational schools. And so the school was running so well, so beautifully. And every year, Swami Guruswami and I were touring Europe. In 2008, I was asked to come and visit America. I was, still living in India at the time. I hadn't left India. So I didn't leave India for the first 6 years. Then I was just touring Europe a few months every year. And then in 2008, I started touring America too, raising money. And all the money for the concerts was going to the school, to support the school. And so I kind of entered the professional scene there, and I got invited to sing at these different yoga festivals like the Bhakti Fest in Joshua Tree and Prana Fest in Oregon, Boston Chant Fest.
Yeah. So now we don't have much more time here now, Mangalananda. What I want to do is you started doing some albums when did you start doing albums?
Swami Gurushan and I would record a new album every year of our music to take on our tour with this. So I made my first album in 2007. We made an album every year after that. And then the last two albums I made after I left, moved back to America, are the ones just one I sing with my own group. And this album, Bhajo is with my Indian group. Now, I want to bring up a subject right now which is important to me also. My previous albums, including Bhajo were recorded in India with my Indian group. And they're very classically, or not classically because we sing kind of the folk music of India, but they're very traditionally Indian. And since I moved back to America in 2013, I guess. I've been a couple of years now back in America. And I go back to India regularly. In fact, I'm going back in April. Since I've been back in America and concentrating here, I'm keeping the traditional sound, but I have a wonderful group of American musicians singing with me. And we've added a little bit. We've added a 12-string acoustic and a bass guitar, and my music now is filled out a little more with the harmonics that the Western ear is used to hearing. So in my work now, I've been asked to contribute my music to two different startup companies in San Francisco who want to use my music as part of their presentation. So because of that, I realized I need to record a new album that reflects my music as it sounds now, which is a little more palatable to the Western ear because, like I said, it's still Indian ragas. It has some of the guitar chords and some of the harmonics that we're used to hearing. So I gathered this wonderful group of musicians, and we started a Kickstarter project to try and raise funds to record a new album. And the way Kickstarter, I don't know if people are familiar with Kickstarter. Kickstarter is an internet platform that artists use to fund their artistic endeavors. And the way it works is all or nothing. You set a goal of this much money you need, and for instance, we're trying to raise $20,000, which sounds like a lot of money, but we took a spreadsheet and laid out all our expenses for studio costs, paying musicians, post-production costs, all things, and it comes out that's how much we need. So with Kickstarter, you set your goal, and you try to get people to contribute and join the project. And if you get your money, if you get the goal that you put, you get the money. You get to keep the money. If you don't make the goal even by $1, you get nothing. So wow. We started this project. Yeah, it's very intense. We started, but it actually gets good because you promise people that you're giving different rewards if they contribute. And if you don't get the full money and you're only half funded, what do? You can't do the project. You can't do it halfway. So really it means that when you get the money, you can do the full project. So we have until the last day of February, February 29th, to raise our full amount, or we'll get nothing. And we've gotten off to a good start, but we're kind of at a plateau, still far from the goal. So I recorded with my new musicians a very beautiful music video, a Kirtan music video, which there aren't that many around. And I tried to make it very respectful of Kirtan instead of one of these big kind of rock and rolling things. So it's a music video of one of the Kirtans we want to record. And you can see this, and you can also donate to our project if you feel so moved. If you watch the video and think we're worthy about what we're trying to do, you can donate to this project. So our goal is,
where can they go to donate to this project?
Yeah, I'll tell you. You see, I personally need the album for my work here, but also as musicians, what we want to do is we want to put out a Kirtan album that would be so inspiring that people could sing along with, that it also spreads this wonderful work of Kirtan. That's our main inspiration right now. So if you go to Kickstarter, kickstarter.com, K-I-C-K, starter.com, you'll come up to the main page, and there you find a box that says Search Projects. And you can put, the name of our project is A Kirtan Album from the Heavens. Kirtan is K-I-R-T-A-N. You can either put in A Kirtan Album from the Heavens, or you can put in my name, Mangalananda, M-A-N-G-A-L-A-N-A-N-D-A, Mangalananda. And it will come up. It's called a Kickstarter Project from the Heavens. And right there, you can just click on and see the music video recorded. It's also on YouTube. But look on the page. On the Kickstarter page, you just click. It'll be the first thing that comes up on our page. You click, and you can see the music video and hear the band I'm playing with. We're beautiful musicians. They're all the greatest musicians that Kirtan Field today are playing with. Really, two of them have their own bands. Many of them play with other bands also, but they're really beautiful.
So let's go ahead and get started because we only have a few minutes. So I want to play at least two, if not three songs. What's one of the first songs that you want to play from your latest? This is your latest album, is that correct? Bhajo?
Yeah, this is our latest album. Now, in Kirtan, there's many different names that we sing. This particular album I'm a devotee of the Divine Mother, that is God in feminine form as the Mother. So this album is all together, it's called Bhajo, so it's dedicated just to Divine Mother. So these are all Kirtans invoking the Divine Mother through different names and mantras, but mainly through this word Ma.
Okay,
I'd like to play the first take. It's called Jaya Jaya Ma. And this word Jaya Ma, we sing this many times. Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma. It means, "O Mother, may you be victorious. Victory to you, O Mother." It's a beautiful phrase, and it's used a lot in Kirtan. So this Kirtan says, Jaya Jaya Ma, Purna Brahma Narayani Ma. We'll talk about some of the terms, but you can go and play it. Okay. And this is from my recorded with my Indian group, so it's very Indian. Doesn't have the guitar in it. So you heard very Indians now.
Jaya Jaya Ma, and we're going to send out love blessings, healing dreams of light, love to all the mothers, all the lovers, all the girlfriends, all the wives, all the female partners out there, and in celebration of Valentine's Day next weekend, and to all the females out there on the planet. Period. Jaya Ma from by Mangalananda from his album Bhajo, Kirtan of Divine Mother, and we will be back.
Very good. Divine Mother is the prototype of all things. Jaya Ma, Jaya Jaya Ma, Bolo. Jaya Jaya Ma,
Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya 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 Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya 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 Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya 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 Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya 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 Ma, Jaya Jaya Ma, Jaya Jaya Ma, Jaya Jaya Ma, Jaya Jaya Ma. Purna Brahma Narayani Ma, Purna Brahma Narayani Ma, Purna Brahma Narayani Ma, Purna Brahma Narayani Ma, Purna Satya Swarupini Ma, Purna Satya Swarupini Ma, Jaya Mai Ma, Karuna Mai 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 Ma, Jaya Mai Ma, Karuna Ananda Mai Ma, 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 Jaya Guru Jaya 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 Ma. Jaya Jaya Ma, 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 Om Shri Ma, Jai Jai 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 Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma.
And we're back.
Very good, Anthony. You there?
And we're back. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual News Productions on Blog Talk Radio and FreeConferencing.com. And now Ustream, establishing and maintaining right relationships for human values. Tonight we're talking with Mangalananda, all the way out of California, with his album Bhajo Kirtan of Divine Mother. And he's talked to us about his life and teachings, I guess, if you want to call it that, growing up in California, articulate about growing up in Dallas, Texas, and then moving to Austin, becoming connected with some gurus, and eventually moving to India, where his main guru that he works or acknowledges is how do you say her name?
Anandamayi Ma.
Say that again.
Anandamayi Ma.
Anandamayi Ma, where he decided to devote his time and efforts to in India for a number of years, and then he came back to the United States, and then returned back to India again to teach to help start up a school where he and then started doing concerts and with a friend of his all over Europe, and then eventually the United States to help raise funding for the school, and has since 2007 been putting out albums. 2007, 2008, putting out, doing albums to as part of the process to do to help raise funding for the school. And what's the name of the school? And I'm assuming it's still up and going in operating. Is that correct?
We have since opened a new branch at the school where Swami Guru Sharanam is running for a new group of people now. It's called Ma Sharanam School. Ma Sharanam. He has a website, masharanam.org. Sharanam. Mash. It means we take refuge in the Mother. Ma Sharanam School. I'll be going back in April to see him. He's a beautiful. Now he started another school downstream for a new group of kids. It's really wonderful, and we have the hostel boys there. We have about 95 students there. We had 500 students at the other school. It's still running, but now we're working on a new branch, a new project. It's really wonderful.
Nice, nice. So it looks like we've run out of time to play any more music, but what next? What happens with Mangalananda now? What happens? You're raising. Now that's the other thing I forgot to mention is that you're looking for a new album, or one that's more Americanized. I understand you're saying. And
just slightly, I can say we're keeping the Indian flavor, but adding a few more Western instruments to make it more powerful to the Western ear, and obviously to see how my music has evolved. I'm still doing a lot of Kirtan everywhere, just for the joy of spreading the divine name and this practice of Kirtan, which is a wonderful thing. And we're working on opening an ashram for Anandamayi Ma here in the San Francisco area. We're having what's called Mati Satsang, having an informal meeting where people learn of Anandamayi Ma and want to study her teachings. And people just come to that very informally, and we'll see how it grows organically, spontaneously. But the main thing is for our continued work and for the continued work of spreading this divine name, we really are working on raising funds for this new album so we can make a beautiful album. So we encourage people to look at our music video, which shows how our music has evolved to this day, and the group I'm playing with now. And really a representative, we do a Krishna Kirtan in that one. So please go to Kickstarter.com. That's
but even easier, right now, they can go to spiritualimageproductions.com, and there on the left-hand side, there's a link that says the Golden Age Music Show, which will take you to this page that I'm on now, the Golden Age Music Show page, and there is the video that you're talking about for raising funds for this new album that you want to make. And so, and then if you click on YouTube, that'll take you to the link to your YouTube channel, which is where I believe your link for the Kickstarter is at as well. Is that correct?
And we're just asking people to become part of this process, spreading this wonderful practice of Kirtan by helping us record this album.
Yeah.
And you see there's a lot of perks for offering, and people give donations. And so go to the Kickstarter.com page also and look under Mangalananda or a Kirtan album from the heavens. You'll see our project there. And we'd appreciate so much any help people can give us, because we want to spread these divine names in this practice of Kirtan, and we have the musicians to do it. We just need the funds to make this new album. So I really appreciate any help from that.
Yeah, so it looks like you already have some funds that are raised, and it's just a matter of time before
like we said, it's all or nothing. By the end of February, if we don't meet our goal, nobody gets charged, and we just get lost. If we make the goal, then we have the money for the album.
Right. And I listened to that video, and that was really nice music. I really enjoyed that.
Good, very good.
So if that's an indication of what the rest of the album is going to be like, I think it's going to be a really worthwhile album.
Absolutely is, yeah.
So anyhow, I do want to thank you, Mangalananda, for stopping by, sharing your stories, sharing your music, sharing your information with us. And
thank you, Andrew, for having me.
Good luck with the Kickstarter and the rest. God bless with all that. And to everyone else, thank you for stopping by. Have a goddess week. Be the love that you are. Always have been, and always will be. Aloha.
Thank you for using